public testimony session for the Assessment Study Commission that was established by the governor by executive order. Last night we had a public testimony session in Jersey City. Tonight we're here in Jackson, and we had a session planned in Blackwood in Camden County at Camden County College. That will be rescheduled because of the blizzard that didn't happen. So we'll be rescheduling that over the next couple of weeks. The Testing Commission's charge, and I think most of you who have signed up know the charge because it was on our website that you signed up on, but it is to review all assessments being used in New Jersey schools. We're going to look at issues regarding over-testing, testing in general, the efficient use of testing, the purposes of testing, the uses of the data from testing. So we're going to be looking comprehensively at this issue. We issued an interim report last week on the issue of over-testing and testing efficiency. I would urge that if you're interested in that topic, and by being here tonight, I think you're demonstrating they are interested in that topic, you should pull that down and read it. And we're particularly interested in your comments on that. Just a couple of thoughts about tonight. Tonight's our opportunity to hear from you, to hear your perspective, to hear what you think we should be doing in relation to our charge. We have a pretty sizable list of folks who want to testify, and even though we're having 3 testimony sessions, we do have a large number of people signed up tonight. We ask that you try to be as concise in your statement as possible. If you have a written statement, we're going to be reading it through with you so you can be assured that we are following along. You'll see us taking a lot of notes. I took around 12 pages of notes last night about what you're saying, with the thought that that's going to guide us on the commission in terms of our work. If you have particular questions about Park, department staff are here. They will be more than happy to answer your questions that you might have. And certainly if you have a particular question, we'll be here after the hearing as well. Feel free to ask me that question or contact us through our website with particular questions. But in terms of the public testimony, in order to hear from as many of you as possible tonight, we're going to listen. We're going to be listening to what you have to say. And I would ask that you please read through your testimony before you arrive at the mic to make certain that you can walk through it in 5 minutes, because otherwise we're not going to get through the entire list, and that's just respectful to everyone else who wants to testify tonight. We have 2 microphones. We're going to call you as you signed up to come and testify. Please check in at the table outside so we know you're here. We're going to call those people who have signed up and have signed in. So make certain that if you've signed up, you registered, pre-registration. Make certain that you sign in as well so we know you're here. As we call you, that's mic 1, that's mic 2. And we're going to constantly try to have a speaker at each mic to cut down on that transition time, so we can, again, try to make certain that everyone is heard tonight. I think the next order of business, I think our superintendent from Jackson's here. You want to thank you, number 1, for allowing us to come and use your facility. It's wonderful you're able to accommodate us tonight. I was just wondering if you wanted to give us a welcome.
First, I would like to welcome everybody who's here, and certainly Commissioner Hespy and the commissioner that's charged with looking at all of the data and certainly hearing the testimony from everybody who's here, and certainly the parents at large throughout the state. As Commissioner Hespy said, it's going to be a busy night, so I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but I certainly wanted to welcome everybody here tonight and certainly look forward to hearing what people have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And now I think we'll introduce our commission members. I'm Dave Hespy. My day job is being Commissioner of Education. Tonight I'm the chairperson on the Assessment Study Commission. And we'll work. Marcia, you want to? Sorry. There you go.
Good evening. I'm Marcia Lyles. I'm Superintendent of Jersey City Public Schools.
Nicole?
Good evening. I'm Nicole Moore. I'm principal of Indian Mills Elementary School in Chemung.
Hello, I'm Tracy Ospel. I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher.
Thank you, commission members. And so why don't we begin? Beth, you want to start lining up our speakers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Donna Jackson. Veronica Branch.
So Donna, if you could come to mic 1 and Veronica to mic 2, and if you're not here, we'll just, I guess we'll move on.
Donald Jackson.
Donald, anyone named Jackson? Any last name Jackson?
In Jackson.
Jacqueline Brown.
If you could, Jacqueline, if you come to mic number
And then
1,
Liz Mulholland.
and Liz, if you could come. Okay, that's great, and that actually provides us with a good opportunity. Thank you for that, that you can send testimony, you can send any communication you want to us using our website, and it's very easy to get our website. Most of you registered through our website. If you need the actual URL, I think Beth has the actual URL. You can ask her for that. All right, please begin.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Brown. I am a teacher and a mother of 2 boys, one in 5th grade and one in 1st grade. I am here tonight not only to express my concerns about Common Core and Park, but also to address possible alternatives and solutions as suggested yesterday by you, Commissioner Hespy.
That's
Governor
great. Thank you, by
Christie.
the way. That's great. Recommendations are very appreciated. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Governor Christie iterated that some concerns regarding Common Core and Park. To be succinct, these standards were created in secret by a select group of corporate profiteers attempting to destroy public education for the sake of privatization and profit. These standards are a set of copyrighted, static ideas that cannot be changed or revised to evolve with the times. There was no research conducted, no pilot programs, no field testing. There was insufficient public dialogue and feedback from experienced educators and parents. No evidence has been produced to support the claim that these rigorous standards will have a positive impact on student learning. In fact, substantial research indicates that these standards are developmentally inappropriate, forcing children to learn concepts that their brains are not yet developed enough to process. So yes, Governor Christie is right to be concerned. Governor Christie also asserted there is going to be some kind of testing. We have to test children to see if they are learning. While no one would argue the validity of this statement, many would argue that Park is not the test for the job. I am truly amazed at how Park can somehow serve as a diagnostic, formative, and summative assessment all rolled into one. Years of research have established the role each type of assessment plays in education. Yet Park seems to defy educational research and practice. In October, Commissioner Hespy, you claimed the Park assessments will for the first time provide detailed diagnostic information about each individual student's performance. An effective diagnostic tool assesses a student's knowledge beforehand, and results are made available immediately. So why is Park administered in March with only 4 months left in the school year? And why are the results not available until after the new school year has already begun? It seems that the reality of Park fails to meet the criteria of what diagnostic assessment truly is. Strike one. It was also stated that the data derived from the assessment will be utilized by teachers and administrators to pinpoint areas of difficulty and customize instruction accordingly. This is, by definition, what a formative assessment is. But how can teachers pinpoint areas of difficulty and customize instructions when the test questions and student answers cannot be seen and the results are not made available until the beginning of the next school year? It seems that Park fails to meet the criteria for formative assessment as well. Strike two. Finally, the Park assessment will provide parents with important information about their child's progress toward meeting the goal of becoming college or career ready. A summative assessment does, in fact, measure if a student has attained a goal at the conclusion of a unit of study. So, in order to determine if, in fact, Park can assess a child's college and career readiness, one would essentially have to follow a child from 3rd grade all the way through college to make that determination. So that means we have to wait 10 years to determine whether or not Common Core and Park are making our children college and career ready. That's a long time to play the wait and see game. Strike three, you're out. Last night, Commissioner Hespy, you commented that for the first time we have direct tie-in between our tests and holding teachers accountable. To me, this is a slap in the face of teachers everywhere. How can you reduce a teacher's ability to transform a child's life to a mere set of data points on a standardized test? Standardized tests do not take into account the teacher who fed her hungry student breakfast. Standardized tests do not take into account the teacher who worked tirelessly to bring his below grade level student up 2 or even 3 grade levels. Standardized tests do not take into account the teacher who bought extra supplies for those students who could not afford it. Those qualities of compassion, empathy, selflessness, sacrifice, and dedication cannot be quantified or measured by a standardized test score. So I make the following recommendations. Repeal Common Core and reinstate the New Jersey state content standards. Unlike Common Core, New Jersey standards have been vetted, are constantly revised and changed to meet current educational demands, and are designed with input from those who have actual educational experience. Research has shown that New Jersey public schools have consistently produced successful students, so why mess with a good thing? Withdrawal from Park. Yes, Governor Christie asserts we need to gauge where our children are and if they are learning at a sufficient rate. However, as Dr. Sandra Stotsky pointed out last night on New Jersey 101.5, we already have a national assessment that does just that, NAEP. So why replace an assessment that has been validated with one that has not been validated, has a built-in failure rate of 35 to 45%, and will produce huge profits for Pearson at our children's expense? Number 3, assess student performance based on quality teacher-created diagnostic, formative, and summative assessments, and not on standardized test scores created by bigwigs sitting in cushy corporate offices far removed from any classroom or learning environment. Number 4, evaluate teachers based on their performance in the classroom, not how their students perform on a standardized test. Honestly, what other profession has a system of evaluating employees based on how others perform on a test? Seems silly when you apply this principle to other professions, doesn't it? Number 5, listen to the parents who have asked repeatedly for the option to refuse their children to participate in these high-stake tests. Governor Christie may not want to get into what parents' legal rights are because he doesn't know, but parents know what their legal rights are. And we ask that you acknowledge, respect, and accommodate a parent's legal right to refuse for their children. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Beth, who's next?
Melinda Dunphy, and then Lisa Rogers.
So Melinda, if you can go to mic 1, and then, was Lisa?
Yes, Lisa Rogers.
If you go Lisa to mic 2.
And then
all right.
Melissa Katz.
If Melissa, you can go to mic 1 then. So Lisa, you can begin. Thank you. All right.
I gotta put the glasses on.
I'm with you on that one, especially at night.
Oh, let me just hand this.
If you could, that would be great. Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you for having us tonight. Lisa Rogers. I live at Monmouth Junction, which is a part of South Brunswick District, and I am a parent of 2 children, an 8th grader at Crossroads North Middle School, as well as a 6th grader at Crossroads North. I think you're going to hear a lot of this introduction tonight.
Okay.
You posed a question to us, Commissioner Hespy, after the Jersey City testimony. What is missing from this conversation, and what I have asked from testifiers to address is what they would do to this social problem, where half of the students are graduating without the skills and knowledge they need. I'm going to answer that for you. But before I do, I have to ask, where are you getting this information that half of the students are graduating without schools when you, Governor Christie, and others list New Jersey as one of the top 2 states in the country? When you say half of the students, you're not truly peeling back that proverbial, onion. If you did, you would see that it is not because of unwilling parents, bad teachers, or bad curriculum. It goes much deeper than that. The issues lie in the districts and the states where poverty is the root cause. There's that word that no one wants to address. If you look at the data that educational experts have provided, you will note that it's not comparable. For example, PISA, schools in other areas of the world use PISA, particularly China, look only at students by ability and wealth and mysteriously cluster the best and the brightest into prestigious high schools. Lower performing students end up in programs outside of major Chinese cities or workforce because the Chinese know poverty affects the test scores. The US poverty level is over 21%. However, if you equalized ours to other countries, for example, Finland is at 3.4% and Japan at 14.3%, the US would actually outperform our foreign counterparts. All you have to do is look in our backyards. Let's use my district, South Brunswick, as an example. Our poverty level is approximately 4%. We have over a 98% graduation rate, with students moving into top colleges and universities, moving on to top career schools, where corporations tap them on the shoulder even before the student graduates. Yet no one is willing to step up and admit that the elephant in the room is poverty. Everyone hides from it, and I question why. A standardized test is a point in time. It does not equal skills and knowledge. In fact, this test will produce less information than in-class teacher assessments because by the time they get the test, the children will be in the next grade. Standardized tests in New Jersey were created by the Whitman administration as part of a lawsuit, Abbott versus Burke, over the funding formula. That funding formula that Governor Christie is supposed to fund but has chosen to ignore. Where South Brunswick has lost over $13 million each year for the past 2 years, equaling over $26 million. These original tests were given in 4th, 8th, and 11th grade were created as monitoring devices, not diagnostic learning instruments. In fact, one of the assistant commissioners in charge of testing admitted in 2014 that the NJASC and HESPA did not provide useful information to inform teaching or policy making. I've provided that reference for you. Yet New Jersey spends hundreds of millions of dollars off making children take them. Per Professor Chris Tiankin, Seton Hall University, I quote, "Parents, teachers, and students will not be able to see every question from the PARCC test. The department said it costs prohibitive and can make only some items available. But for a teacher or for a parent or a teacher, some items will only tell some of what is needed. Consider a parent receiving only 20% of the questions home each week from a test and the test grade. Does that inform a parent?" End of quote. I'm going to skip. Skills that were taken away from the classrooms when education reform was put in the hands of big business, which do not know a thing about education, are things like penmanship, spelling, grammar, writing, essential skills that have ceased to be taught to students in order to make way for Study Island, more district tests, more state tests, more federal tests, and more international tests. Listen. Listen, I'm all for critical thinking. But you're testing children that have not been taught that way of thinking yet. In fact, you're pushing it the wrong way. By forcing teachers to teach to the test, you're ignoring your own proposal that this will get kids to think critically. For example, my daughter came home and had to create a Rube Goldberg invention for science. She had to come up with the idea and test it. This is called an alpha test. She had failed that test. She had to redesign and test again, which we in business call a beta test. She worked on it for 3 days, trying to figure out how to use various forces to make it work: wind, gravity, electromagnetic fields, etc. And then she had to videotape herself describe the process. This is critical thinking. That is how you engage a child. That is how you let a teacher teach.
Lisa,
I understand, and
you're reading, we have the written tonnage, you're reading, you only
and I
halfway
want
through.
the audience to hear it. Thank you.
I understand that.
I understand, but I'm very passionate about, sir, and I have a right to speak my
Yeah, I
mind.
just want you to be respectful of other
Okay.
people who want to testify. That's it.
So, to answer your question, what to do to impact this societal problem? It's called best practices. In corporations, we use best practices. We look at many factors, includes what is working, where is it working, why is it working, when it started working, and how can we mirror the process into other districts. We are not Finland, we are not Japan, and we are not China, or should I say Shanghai. We are the United States of America. All we have to do is look into the backyards of communities and engage the right individuals, engage experts, experts that have studied this issue, that have produced hard evidence through research, experts that have actual advanced degrees in education, experts in districts where it's working, in educational history to ensure we don't make the same mistakes we did in the past. Engage the community where the problems lie. Don't make the same mistakes we did in the past. It is time to stop, admit we are on the wrong path, and turn it around. Anyone in this room or in this state that is voicing their opinion today would not fault you for admitting it's not the right path. In fact, they would cheer you on for coming to the same conclusion that 80% of the United States has come to. And you've heard about the NAEP already. I also just want to point out, when you're sick and you go to the doctor and you get a blood test, this example's been used so many times. The blood test is a sample. They don't take all your blood. That test comes back 3 to 5 years later. 3 to 5 days later. A teacher, in effect, does the same with class assessment. If they don't do well, she or he considers many things that impact that child. Parents get the results back, and they together determine what the problem is. But I know what you're going to say, that all parents are not engaged. And you're right, not all parents are engaged. But maybe it's because of that word, poverty. You've got people that have to worry about putting food on the table. You've got people having to worry about gangs. You have people that are not getting fully funded in their districts. Not everyone was born to be a scientist or a doctor and engineer, but K-12 public education is about giving individuals a foundation to learn about the paths that they could take. Therefore, sadly, results from standardized tests most often tell us more about the family and community economics, outside of the factors outside of the control of schools. Through a series of studies that Dr. Tinkin conducted, he and his colleagues have begun the process of demonstrating the predictive accuracy of family and community demographics. May I ask why Professor Tinkin was not asked to join this commission? As he said, we have the ultimate assessment system already working in our classrooms. It's called the teacher. Let's invest in our teachers the way Finland does. Let's focus on the core issues that would be at districts in poverty. Let's gather the smartest, the brightest educators to come up with the right solution. Let's implement best practices of districts doing it right. Let's use the NAEP as our assessment instead of spending millions of dollars on tests that do not tell us anything new about our children.